there's more bits that are inedible. This is kind of a small Cornish, so not maybe a great comparison side by side, but I don't know, maybe.
Gender of the bird makes a big difference too.
They all say, oh, we'd love to buy some here. Maybe we'll be chicken farmers one day. Hey guys, it's that time of year where we are looking in our freezers, seeing how many meat birds we have left, and starting to plan for this next season of growing our own food. And guess what? The freezers, I don't even know what that was a mix of. The freezers.
Meat freezer is a measer.
They're actually still pretty full. So today we wanted to talk to you a little bit about Cornish Cross, and we're gonna compare them to the only other bird that we have raised, which are the Red Rangers. And I'm hearing that, I don't know, maybe you can't even raise Red Rangers this year. We'll see. So let's get into it. Well, I guess we didn't label that one, but that's a Red Ranger, right?
Yeah, just right now it happens that I've got baby monitor. Right now it happens that all our Freedom Rangers are in one freezer and our Cornish Cross are in the other freezer. It's not always the way it works out, but last year we didn't actually need to raise any Freedom Rangers because we had an abundance of them, so we just did a small batch of Cornish Cross, and I just happen to have them in separate freezers.
Yeah, if you remember, if you've been watching at all, I was pregnant, so we weren't even sure we were going to raise meat birds last year because we had so many from the year prior, and Rob just couldn't help himself, so we did a small batch that he ended up butchering completely himself, right? All in one day, but I think it was only about 20.
About 20-25 birds. But we still have a freezer full of Cornish Cross. So coming into this season, we have way more Cornish Cross than we have Rangers. But I strategically was trying to eat through these because we've had them a little bit longer.
So the thing is that we do, once they're bagged up and everything, normally, I don't know why it's not labeled, but I don't know that you really could tell the difference just from looking at them.
I can now. And I think you would notice if it was the first time at home and you butchered or worked with a Ranger carcass compared to a Cornish Cross, I think you would notice. It's hard for me to do holding both, but
yeah,
if I lay them down here,
well, the size,
I can tell that the breasts, for one, are a lot larger on the Cornish Cross than on the Ranger.
Yeah,
and you can see you also get a lot more drum meat, leg meat, red meat on the Freedom Rangers.
This is kind of a small Cornish.
Yeah.
So not maybe a great comparison side by side, but I don't know, maybe.
They're consistent. That's the other thing is I feel like the Cornish Cross, because they're bred for meat, the carcasses are so consistent. When you raise them, it's what they're bred. Whereas we have a lot more variation in the birds when we do the Freedom Rangers.
So the first thing that we wanted to talk about is breed. So I think we were under the impression that the Freedom Rangers are a heritage breed, which they are not. They are also crossbred to grow quickly, right? But you can actually breed them. You can keep them and raise them as egg layers, right?
You could, yeah, they will lay eggs.
So they're dual purpose.
Yeah.
Is the word for them.
Most people are raising them for meat.
Whereas Cornish Cross, you cannot do that. They will probably start dying shortly after 8, 10, 12 weeks because they just get too big.
They just are bred to eat, and they will grow so fast that by 10 weeks they're ready to be going to the freezer.
I think that's one of the things that people hate about them the most is that they grow so fast that their organs can't support it. Their heart gets overloaded and they start like literally just having heart attacks and dying, and they're really fat, so they don't walk a lot by the time they get to the end of you raising them. And that's going to be all of the chicken that you get from the grocery store. It is the main breed that is now used for commercial chicken. So I would say it's still 10 times better if you're growing it yourself. because they're getting the grass, they're getting the bugs, the fresh air, sunshine.
And you can choose the feed you want. You can make it non-GMO, you can make it organic, you can make it soy and corn free, you can adapt to the diet of the food that you're going to be eating. So you have more options where that you can't get that necessarily at a grocery store. I personally have never seen even a Freedom Ranger for meat at a grocery store or farm market or a small farm store or anything. I haven't.
Right.
That's so if it's something you want to try, I think kind of it seems like your only option is to raise them yourself. And I would suggest trying it. You know, there is a noticeable difference to me in taste.
Yeah.
The quality of the meat, but I think we should talk about pros and cons of each, because we aren't set one way or the other. We see a lot of people that are like, oh, I did Freedom Rangers, I love that, we're just always doing that. We, on the other hand, have found that we like both. And
it's something that really surprised us, because we thought once we raised the Freedom Rangers, we were like, oh, these are so much better. But then we ate a Cornish again after that, and I was like, I kind of like the wings better.
Yeah, the Cornish really are just a juicy, tender bird. I mean, they're meant for meat. So with that duration of raising the Freedom Rangers a little bit longer, and the fact that they are more active, they are a little bit more muscly. So almost sometimes you end up with a little tougher bird, a little bit different tendon structure, fat structure within the meat, that if you're really used to Cornish Cross, which is what you probably have eaten, that might throw you off a little bit. Or when you go to butcher one and take the breasts off, you're like, man, these are kind of dinky breasts. It's because the energy is going in different places in that chicken as it grows the meat.
Yeah, so you might end up liking both. You might end up liking one more, but one really huge factor that you want to think about is the time and the money. So I would say per chick, are they about the same price even? Okay, so that's not where the cost comes in. It's the time. They take
feed cost.
12 weeks?
Yeah, about 11 to 12 weeks, whereas the Cornish can take 7 to 8 weeks. I mean, they just grow really fast. So you're looking at almost like 35% more in feed through raising the same.
So it's not just feed cost, it's your time, guys. That's 4 more weeks of, if you're raising them like we are, pulling them around twice a day. We move them twice a day on pasture. You may not have the space for that, first of all, and you just want to think about how overloaded you are in the summertime with other stuff and where your life is at, and you might just need to get that 6 to 8 week bird.
Maybe you want to do 2 rounds, so you can almost think about, you could do 2 rounds of Cornish. If you only had one chicken tractor that held 20 chickens and you want to do 40, you could almost do 2 rounds of Cornish in the time you're going to do 1 round of Freedom Rangers. If you raised them out, let's just say average 7 weeks for 2 rounds, 2 batches, you can do that in 14 weeks, whereas it could be 12 weeks for 1 round of the Freedom Rangers. So that's definitely...
Yeah, that's a big factor that you want to consider. And another thing I wanted to talk about was the processing. So a lot of people process their own birds now, but I don't know. I think it might still be like 50-50, because we do know some people that still take their birds somewhere, even though they raise them themselves, they still take them to get processed somewhere. So that's a big...
It's a
factor
in the process, but also in the processing, because the Cornish are pretty lethargic birds. When you're moving them on grass, they will walk around because they need to walk to get to their food, and if you're moving them on grass. But the Freedom Rangers are far more active, and thus, when it comes to processing, are going to be a lot harder to catch and wrangle and kill. If during the process they're able to get out of their chicken tractor, or you have them in a fence, or you're moving them, the Freedom Rangers are going to be far more active and likely to try and fly over any fence or run, or you're gonna have to chase them. We've experienced all these things, but the even in the process, the difference is that the Cornish pluck a lot easier. They just actually, the evisceration process seems a lot easier. With the Rangers, those feathers are in a little bit harder. We always end up having an extra pluck some of the tail feathers, wing feathers, a little bit, some more effort even in the processing of the bird.
Yeah, let me check my list here. That might be all of it. We kind of talked about taste, feathers, evisceration, grow time. Yeah. The other thing I was going to mention is size. And I think that I don't know if this is a common misconception, that Cornish Cross are bigger. We
have, I think, let some of our Rangers go too long where they just got so big. I guess that's one more point, is gender of the bird makes a big difference too. And to me, it makes a bigger difference with the Rangers than it does with the Cornish, where we've raised male and female Cornish together at the same time. time, and there may have been a slight difference in the size of them when it came to processing, but not enough that it threw us off. Whereas we have now raised a mix of female male rangers, and I noticed a larger difference between gender and the size of the bird. And I think last year, maybe it was just because that was all was available to us, I ordered 2 years ago, one batch of rangers that was all male. So, and those they got big. I mean, I had planned and timed it out to grow them out, I think, to 12 weeks, and they were like turkey birds. That might be one of those bigger ones.
That's another point too, is that their
instincts will kick in that 12-week period. Roosters and with hens are going to act like roosters, and it starts to get scrappy in there. The roosters are going to follow their instinct and want to do what they want to do with hens, but also there will be some competition between your male roosters, and I mean, you're going to hear crowing and all kinds of stuff that you don't really experience with the Cornish Cross, because you're only going into that 7-8 week period. You're butchering a young chicken. You don't deal with all that.
We've had some bloody butts.
We've had wounds on them going after each
bloody
other.
Heads.
They get talons. I mean, that's what I'm saying. When it comes to processing time, if you've got 25 roosters in a pen that you got to walk in and go grab one, it's a lot harder to grab one of them than the Cornish Cross.
And we made them
sitting ducks, I guess.
Yeah, we made the mistake one time of having some in together. I think that we had some small Cornish that we were like, oh, let's let them keep going, and we put them in the chicken tractor with the rangers. No, big mistake. I'm
not trying to discourage against that either. I mean, it's a sporting, fun, it's a different experience. I really do, I guess, suggest trying both,
I think everybody made it, but I think some of the Cornish were bloodied up. What I was getting to was some of our smallest birds ever are Cornish. They're not rangers. They're the runt of the Cornish batch, and they just never get big.
And that could be another thing where there's some more genetic issues within the batch. Like, we definitely they're more sensitive, probably just because they're how they are crossed, but you'll have more casualties, I guarantee. I don't know that we've ever lost a ranger to natural causes while raising them, but we definitely have lost some Cornish. Our numbers have still been really good, but I'd say every batch we've done, we have at least lost one Cornish before processing day, either because of heat sensitivity, they grew weight too fast, they had legs that gave out, they were a runt, there was just something genetic to that where they weren't getting to compete for the food. These guys really compete for feed.
Yes.
And so if there's a runt that's not getting access, it becomes an issue.
How about when we ordered them? Do you remember? Did any come in the box?
We now have tended more to try and get them locally, but we had one batch where we lost almost all.
Right, with Cornish Cross, but you can't get Red Rangers from a feed store, right?
Not that I've seen. You may be able to special order if you went to a local farm store and put in an order where they'd have them. They're still getting shipped through the mail, but
right. But did we have some come in a box through the mail that didn't make it Red Rangers? I cannot remember. We'll have to think about that.
If so, our numbers have always been really good with them.
Yes. So I would say traditionally they're more hardy for that shipment too. We, in the past couple years, have realized that you can catch sales on Cornish Cross at your local TSC or the other store called Rural King.
Even pet stores, I think whatever we have, PetSmart or something, Petco, they get chickens in.
If you don't get your order in with a breeder, I wouldn't panic. I would check your local stores, and even if you don't see a sale, just get that batch from them, because sometimes, like at TSC, they're giving them organic feed. So you can get birds that have been being fed already for a week
on organic starter, and
they're still the same price that you would have gotten them for from through the mail from a breeder, or if you bought them the day they came into TSC. So sometimes you can
They'll deal with you on a holiday weekend too. If keep an eye on a holiday weekend coming up, they'll deal with you because they don't want to pay somebody to come in to tend to the birds, and they know they've got more birds coming in most of the time, so they want to get those out before they get too big. That works with egg layers too. You can check those things locally, and they will deal with you. So say, hey, I see you've got 15. Will you take I'll take all 15 for $10. A manager sometimes will make that decision, and that's going to be a big savings, because I think most of the prices are around $3 to $4 a bird starting out right now if you're going to order them through the mail, which is a hard starting spot for raising your own chickens after you figure in feed and everything. So you can save locally that way. If the trouble we run into with that, which is going to be our tactic again this year is we usually want to fill out our chicken tractor with 25 to 30 chickens. So I'll find one place has 14 and one place has 7 and one place has, and I tried my best to just make sure they're all within a similar age range, because you don't want to go and get someplace that has 3-day-old chicks and the other place has 2-week-old chicks, because you're skewing your numbers big time in your chicken tractor. So there's a bit of a puzzle to it, but it can be done. And it sounds like there is, typically there is some shortages, or it's hard to get your orders in this time of year. And it sounds like from some things that we've seen that rangers might be very limited from some hatcheries. So
yeah. With all that said, guys, we would 100%, maybe 200%, suggest or advise you to try it. Raise your own meat birds. It is 1,000% worth it. Your return on investment starts to get better and better year after year. This will be our 4th year, I believe, our 4th summer. We're definitely COVID homesteaders, but we've stuck with it and we love it. So we started with one meat tractor and we've built a second tractor now. And we encourage everybody else that we tell about it, like that they should do it. I don't know that anybody's taken us up on it. They all say, oh, we'd love to buy some here. So maybe we'll be chicken farmers one day. But if you're thinking about it, absolutely, we suggest that you do it. We think you'll love it. It's well worth the money, especially over time. And you can't buy the meat anywhere else, even from a regenerative farm. Like they don't have the time to put in what you're gonna do with your small batch
in your yard.
Yeah, so I'm gonna show you that little Cornish Cross before we head out, but that is our 2 cents for this video. Yeah. That one's, this is a small, I would say a runt, right? Compared to, is this a Ranger now?
I think, no, those are all Cornish still.
Cornish.
But
okay.
I think we had let some go so big that I wanted to keep some young tender chickens in this batch. I think I did, go on the shorter side.
And then this is a Ranger.
Yeah, look at
I mean, guys, yeah.
Bok bok.
But again, I think that there's more usable meat on the Cornish, don't you?
We use every bit.
I feel like when we're eating the wings and the thighs and all that there's more bits that are inedible in the Rangers. They're just kind of fatty and tough parts that you can't eat.
The tough parts, I guess.
Yeah, the Cornish just don't develop all that stuff, which
they're like lazy, lumpy.
Might be the case to not eat them, but they taste good. They're cheaper. They're still food. They're still meat in the freezer. So good luck, guys, making your choice. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like this video, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one. Bye. If you have any questions, if we feel like we missed anything, please leave a comment below. We'll be happy to respond and give you an answer. If you're already in the process and running into some questions, anything, guys, we're happy to answer your questions if we can.
Maybe you're more experienced than us. Tell us what we're doing wrong.